This is bad.
Nope.
Star plus Oro.
Alrighty, today we're talking about the hand, and this stand is some bullshit. Seriously, the fact that this stand has remained in the same state it's been for basically ever continues to boggle my mind. And honestly, I don't see it changing anytime soon, and that terrifies me even more. But anyways, before we start, you may have noticed, actually you probably didn't notice, that I actually have the skin for the hand. One of the few skins that I do have, and it happens to be the worst skin in the entire game. You can't change my mind on that. The skin is so god-awful that I couldn't even tell it was a skin when I first got it. I had to go and check my pity in order to see if it reset to confirm whether I'd gotten a skin or not. Now that is some sad stuff. But me complaining about getting the worst skin in the game aside, the hand is an incredibly powerful stand, and it's a lot more powerful in 2v2's main game and SBR than it is in 1v1's. Not that it's bad there, it's just better in the other modes. But I'll get to why that is when I get to it. So without further ado, let's jump into the moveset, and I'll tell you what the hand can do. All things being considered, the hand does not have that many moves. But before I talk about its actual moves, there is one thing I have to talk about. The hand's overall stand speed is slow. What this means is that your M1s, as well as your barrage, hit a lot slower than normal. This means two things. Number one, landing M1s is a little bit harder. And number two, regardless of what the decent damage on your barrage says, there are less hits in your barrage, so you do less damage barraging than other stands do. The takeaway here is that outside of your two BS tons of damage moves, you do next to no damage. Alright, moving on. When it comes to moves you can use, the two big ones are your first erasure and your second erasure. The first erasure is a quick swipe in front of you. It ignores other people's blocks, but it can be perfect blocked. When paired with Haman, your first erasure does an unholy 76 damage in a single move. Now as for that second erasure I was talking about, because some of the YBA developers must be on some sort of drug, they decided that one erasure was not enough for the hand, and instead of adding another utility move, they just added another massive damage move. The second erasure has a longer cooldown and does a little bit less damage, as well as taking longer to come out. Despite this, it is pretty much identical to the first erasure. I once again assume that whoever was in charge of the balance for this stand was on drugs, because they decided that the first erasure should have enough stun that you can true combo it with the second erasure. What you just saw was a true 136 damage combo by me pressing 2 keys on my keyboard. I'm getting ahead of myself though. We need to talk about the rest of the hand's moveset. And the rest of the hand's moveset is basically completely worthless for the most part. You have access to Erasure Pull, which might be the worst move in the entirety of YBA. This move deals 0 damage and pulls the opponent to you, and the range that you can pull people from depends on how much you've upgraded it in your skill tree. This move used to be exceedingly overpowered because you could combo it with your Erasure, getting free damage, but then they nerfed it for good reason. That nerf was an over nerf. You have so much end lag on your Erasure Pull that you can't get anything off of it. Let me rephrase that. Not only can you not get anything off of it, but the enemy can combo you for you landing the pull. So in other words, never use Erasure Pull ever. And your last move, Erasure Accelerate, you swipe away the air in front of you and it pulls yourself forward. This move can be used effectively in main game since you can jump across rooftops, but in the other modes it's pretty much worthless. And then of course there's the classic glitch that'll never get patched that lets you phase through solid objects like your Casper the Friendly fucking Ghost. This glitch has been around for as long as I can remember and will never get patched. I've resigned myself to that. It won't get patched. So if you're playing main game, you can run away forever. You either phase through the buildings or you get stuck in them. Regardless, you can't die, so have fun. That's all for the moves, but when it comes to the skill tree, there's some interesting things to note. First of all, the hand skill tree is dirt cheap. So if you're gonna ask me for whatever my build is in this video, I don't know what you're on. You can literally buy everything. So I'm not gonna bother showing my full build because it doesn't matter. You can just get everything. Well, not everything on the sand skill tree because you don't need that, but I'm about to talk about that anyway. But when it comes to spec and player, you can just get every single upgrade. Now as for what I'm referring to, I know that I said Erasure Accelerate and Erasure Pull were worthless, but that wasn't entirely true. There's a hidden upgrade when you first unlock both Erasure Pull and Erasure Accelerate. Let me show you. With solely the first Erasure upgrades, your Erasure does 54 damage. After going and unlocking Erasure Accelerate, the damage is bumped up to 57.6 damage. And finally, after unlocking Erasure Pull, your first Erasure damage is bumped up to 61.2 damage. It should be noted that any upgrades after unlocking the first two moves does not do anything. So if you max out Erasure Pull or Erasure Accelerate, you'll still be capped out at the 61.2 damage. But if for some reason you're not getting these moves, you're gimping your own damage output. Anyways, I think that's probably all I've got for the moveset section, so let's move on to strategies. When it comes to strategies for the hand, there's not a whole lot going on here. This is maybe the most brain-dead stand in the entire game. I mean, for God's sakes, you have 2 buttons that you use, and that's pretty much it. So this section is probably going to be a whole lot more of how to deal with the hand rather than how to play the hand. But in case you're curious on how to play it, I'll tell you. First of all, use Haman. There's basically no reason to use any other spec. The extra damage you get with Haman is stupid powerful with the hand, and there's basically no reason to run any other spec with it, at least in my opinion. This is compounded by the fact that your Zoom Punch is a combo tool that for some ungodly reason combos into Erasure. This means if you land Zoom Punch, then you can erase and then do the second Erasure. Cue that free 136 damage. As for how to land the erasures, well, I just told you. Zoom Punch and erase them. It really is as easy as that. I already said you should never ever ever use your Erasure Pull, and I stand by that. If you throw out Erasure Pull, at least in 1v1s, you will do nothing but get hit for it, so don't do it. And your Erasure Accelerate feels like it could be a move that you can use to escape time stops, but it's not. If you try to use it while someone's time stopping, you won't go anywhere. You'll just freeze wherever you started it, and there's not enough time for you to react and start the move and get in the air just off of when they press the time stop key. You can throw out this move to try to bait someone into doing something stupid, but outside of that, it doesn't serve a whole lot of purpose. So that's how you use it. Now we're going to talk about how to deal with it. Fortunately for me, I did run into a few players on Ranked that weren't brain dead and knew how to deal with the hand. The name of the game here is you need to use your barrage. Now, why do you need to use your barrage? Well, if you don't use your barrage, then you're gonna tank a metric ton of damage. If you get Zoom Punched by the hand, wait a second and then start barraging them so that you cancel their first erasure. Now I know what you're gonna tell me. You're gonna say, but Eclipse, if I use that and I cancel the erasure, then they're just gonna attack me with their barrage and then I'm gonna get screwed. Well, that's not entirely true for 2 reasons. First of all, if you cancel their erasure, they still have the end lag of the erasure to cope with. This means that if you barrage, cancel it, and then dash back, they can't do anything to you. And second off, even if they catch you in a barrage, first, the barrage does next to no damage. Second, if they use the Zoom Punch in order to stop you, they're not gonna have another Zoom Punch to combo you. And third, assuming you canceled the first erasure and not the second erasure, the second erasure is too slow to combo off of their barrage, or any of the other moves they have for that matter. This means that if you just dash back or spam M1s or do really anything after they barrage you, you'll be just fine. So if you get stunned by the hand player, you need to barrage to cancel it or you are done. I do hear a lot of people saying, well, just parry the erasure, lol, and I'll be honest with you, it's not that easy. The erasure parry timing is very deceptive, and when the move actually hits you is also very deceptive. Trying to parry erasures is very much akin to trying to parry beatdowns. Even if you know it's coming a lot of the time and you're ready to react to it, it's just too fast. The way Erasure works is that it has a lingering hitbox on it, so if you throw the move out and somebody walks into the hitbox, they'll still take damage even after you've used the move. This means that depending on how far you are from the move is how fast you need to react in order to parry it. So in other words, if they're right on top of you and they use an Erasure, it's next to impossible to react. But if they're dashing at you and trying to do it, it's quite easy. So you always have to keep some sort of distance to the hand player, because if you don't and they're right on top of you, they're gonna throw that erasure out, you're gonna hit F and be like, man, I swear I parried that, but it's just too quick if they're right up close. Now I have some bad news for you guys that are trying to fight the hand. There are 3 very fatal flaws that basically make all the information I just told you completely worthless. The first one is that if you get block broken or parried, you are ultra screwed no matter what. Since you can't barrage while parried or block broken, if they're fast enough, they can get the first and second erasure off before you can do anything. The timing's tight, but it can be done. The second one is that all of these only apply to 1v1s mode. If you run across somebody using the hand and they have anyone on their side, you might as well be signing your own death warrant. You'll get barraged by the enemy, they'll come up behind you while you're not paying attention, and bam, more than half your health is gone in a fraction of a second. So if you see the hand and they have a teammate, run the other way. And if you don't have a choice and you get barraged, make sure you're paying attention to all of the sides around you so you don't get caught by one move that does almost half your HP. And finally, saving the best for last, the one last final fatal flaw that makes all of the advice I gave you worthless is that seemingly every single The Hand player is playing on a potato. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about, and some of you are very confused. Your dashes in YBA are tied entirely to your frame rate. The lower the frame rate, the farther your dashes go. If your dashes go really far, and since the hand's erasures have lingering hitboxes, that means that it can make it next to impossible to do anything about a laggy The Hand player. Don't believe me? I locked my FPS to 30. Feast your eyes on this. So in conclusion, you just need to turn down your FPS to 30, and then you can run around like you have ice skates on every time you do a dash and an erasure, and it's almost impossible to react and perfect block it. No, but seriously, this is stupid. I know, I've been told 100 times by Paragon and other people that they can't fix the dashes being tied to frame rate, but that shit is gonna drive me crazy one of these days. So if there's some way to fix that, it's starting to be one of the number one things that I really want to be fixed. Because fighting against laggy opponents can be an exercise in frustration, especially when they're using stands like this. When it comes to my actual thoughts on the hand, I think that the hand needs a very, very small nerf. Well, I think the effects of it wouldn't be small at all, but I think it needs it. The true combo for pressing 2 keys and getting 136 damage needs to go. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of in a game. Make it so that erasure number 1 and or erasure number 2 knock down. That way if you get hit with an erasure, you don't just immediately get hit by another one. Yes, there's counterplay, but the fact that this exists at all is really stupid. If you run into 2 The Hands, God help you. Because if you get hit with 1 erasure, then you barrage to get out of it, and then the other one combos you. And then you're just stuck in the blender, there's nothing you can do. Honestly, my biggest hope is that the hand as a stand gets a complete rework. Because frankly, the fact that 2 of the moves basically completely suck and the other 2 moves are ridiculously broken doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. I don't think there's a whole lot else I need to really say about this though. I'm honestly surprised that this stand review has gone on for as long as it has. The hand is such a simple stand and there really isn't too much to talk about, so at this point I'm probably just harping on for next to no reason. Because of that, I think it's prudent that I end it here. If you somehow made it all the way to the end of this and you enjoyed it, you can go ahead and leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you didn't enjoy it, don't do those things. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.